Thanks very much, Kevin. My name is Bongi Mlangeni, spelled M-L-A-N-G-E-N-I. And I am the head of communications at Corruption Watch. I'm very happy to be here. I'm really honored because I'll be speaking to people that at Corruption Watch we consider to be our most important partners, and those are journalists. So it's quite a great honor to be here. Also, having been a journalist myself and now working on the other side of the story, it's quite exciting to come and have this experience with you. So Corruption Watch was launched about 5 months ago. It is an initiative of COSATU, but it works as an independent civil society organization. When we were launched, it was around the 26th of January, we didn't expect the amount or the kind of attention that we received from the media, business, government, and from the general public. There was a lot of interest in what we were doing, and we had sort of underestimated this amount of interest that the organization would attract. So what we have done in the first 5 months since we've been born is that we've been focusing on feeding this public interest while also doing the most other important job, which is to build the organization from scratch, put together systems that will make it effective in the future. And because of this public interest, I must say that it was a bit daunting, because suddenly, we sit in our offices in Rosebank and we think, oh my God, we are facing this big Goliath, which is corruption, but people are expecting so much from us. They're expecting that we will do a lot more as a civil society organization to combat corruption in South Africa. We are under no illusion that we're going to fight and win over corruption alone as an organization with 15 full-time staff members. In fact, what we need and what we need urgently is your support, and we think that it is through your support that we are going to achieve success, and we want you to be part of most of the work that we do at Corruption Watch. What I'm going to be doing is that I'll be telling you more about who we are as an organization. I have already distributed pamphlets on that, and I've already distributed my cards so that if you need more information, you can always call me later, and I would love to have tea, coffee, or lunch with you. As well, yeah? So what I'll be doing is that I will first take you through the environment that we work in and try and describe it in the best possible way within the very few minutes that I've got. Then I will then explain what is our approach at Corruption Watch, and then I will explain how we would like to work with members of the media. So about the environment. We work in an environment where what we know about corruption is based on perception more than the actual incidents of corruption that take place. It is very difficult to measure the extent, the actual incidents of corruption, because corruption happens between 2 individuals or 3 or 4, but it's a transaction that tends to happen privately that has bigger effects on us as a society later, but it happens between 2 or 3 people, and it is seldom reported, and even when it is discovered, some people still don't talk about it as much as they should, or they don't report it to official systems. So the actual numbers of how much corruption is actually happening is not really out there. What is there are perceptions of how much people, what are people's opinions about corruption that is out there. The it's called the South African Social Attitude Survey that was done recently by the HSRC. You may have seen it because it's a story that has been running for the past 2 weeks. It confirms that corruption is a major obstacle in South Africa, is seen in that way, and it is seen as an obstacle to realizing freedom, security, and justice. And it also shows that around 3/4 of South Africans, 74% of South Africans, believe that the incidents of corruption have increased in the past 3 years. Bribery and corruption are perceived to be mostly common among the police, home affairs, and officials who are awarding public tenders. Now, it's interesting because the police are seen as the most corrupt everywhere in the world, It's not just in South Africa, but they take the cup for this, which is why as Corruption Watch, one of our first reports focus on the Johannesburg Metro Police Department, the JMPD. We focus on traffic cop bribery, and this type of bribery is called petty corruption, or is referred to as petty corruption, as opposed to grand corruption, which is usually driven by it's driven by greed mainly. It involves senior officials. Petty corruption tends to involve your most junior officials, and it's the kind of corruption that we tend to come across every time. So when we launched this report, which got a lot of publicity, and we were exposing what people feel and what people say about the JMPD, because the JMP kept on telling us that the number of corruption cases that are happening there are quite limited. That is according to their stats. But we found that people were saying, no, it's happening a lot more than what they are claiming. When we took out this report, some people on our Facebook pages said, Corruption Watch, why are you focusing on petty corruption? It's such a small thing. Why not go and get the big fish, Go for the arms deal type of corruption stories, not these small petty corruptions that happen here and there. Well, we don't agree with that. We strongly, in fact, disagree that we should just be focusing on on grand corruption and ignore petty corruption. One of the things about petty corruption is that what it reveals is that corruption has become systemic within an institution. And what that means basically is that in an institution like the JMPD, corruption has become so common that you expect the JMPD to function only through corruption rules. What has happened there is that it becomes the order of the day, it replaces the formal rules, and nobody gives a damn anymore. And when that happens, for us as a society, it means we are highly damaged. It has high costs for us. And I will talk more about what these costs are. And what it also means is that values of honesty and integrity basically fly out the window, and we suffer greatly as a society. I want you to put yourself in a situation where you have just left a party and you are drunk, and you are meeting a JMPD officer, and you are happy to pay 20 rands Jojo, as it is called. And you feel content with that transaction because at that very moment, it has benefited you. You can go home and sleep and forget about the day or the night or the evening. And I want you to imagine that we are also in a taxi where the taxi is not functioning properly, and the taxi driver is stopped by the JMPD officers or by a traffic cop anywhere in the country, and he takes out 50 rands, gives it to the traffic cop. He is also happy and content because he has managed to evade the sanctions that go with making the offense. Then later, that same taxi is in a car accident, or you, as you go home, you are in a car accident. I want you to think about how that small act of paying a bribe in those few minutes has implications for other members of the society. What basically you are doing when you are entering a transaction, a corruption transaction, you are basically consenting to road accidents, to deaths on the road. You are endorsing a corrupt police force. You are saying yes to crime. And in that instance of you paying a bribe, you are also asserting your status as a victim. And what happens with systemic corruption, it thrives on this victimhood, and it loves silence, and it loves people who are happy to take part in the game. And this is the kind of stuff that we as Corruption Watch, we feel it matters to cover both petty corruption and grand corruption because both have higher implications and costs for us as a society, and we will be focusing on both. So what have we done, or what can we do to stop corruption? We support the view that the public, that you have an active role to play in this work, that it is up to you, and you will also help us or enable us to hold those who lead us accountable. So our model as Corruption Watch places active citizenship right at the center. We want people to stop being passive victims and become active members of society and report corruption. We also want to see people refuse to bribe and reject corruption in every possible way. One of the ways in which we can create an environment that deters the culture of corruption, if we could call it that, one of the ways we can deter that culture of corruption, at Corruption Watch we believe that we can do that, of course, by working with you as members of the media, because you have the biggest tool, which is the ability to expose those who are corrupt. At Corruption Watch, what we have done is that we have this model of active citizenship where leaders are held accountable. One of our biggest platforms is social media. So we have created a website where people can report corruption via our website and give us details of where it is happening or where it happened, who is involved, if they have evidence to attach documents that can provide us the kind of evidence that we need. So we have a website where people can do this. We also have a Facebook page where people can exchange ideas or share their experiences of corruption. What we are going to do with this information is that this data will then feed into our investigations. This data will also allow us to litigate if there is a need to litigate, but it will also inform our campaigns and also our policy advocacy when we meet with those who are in authority. So we will be definitely using those reports to make sure that some of the cases that we get, we definitely investigate them. I must say that we are unable as an organization, because we are quite small, to investigate all the cases, but some of them, those that we can, we go out and invest. And I don't know if you are aware, but last week we did a report on the Department of Transport. It's a tender case where there was irregularities in the way that tender was awarded, and we took that case to the public protector so that she could act on it. And that's the kind of relationship that we are hoping to have, in fact, with the public protector. We did not just take one case, we took three completed investigations to her to look at, and we are hoping that she will act on them. And the way we choose our cases is that the cases should have happened after 2010, because we cannot go back way into cases that happened in 2006. We receive a lot of reports where people say it was in 1994 or it happened in 2005 and nobody has been able to help me. Corruption Watch, please help. And we are unable to help in those instances just because our resources do not allow us to do it. So what do we expect from you, and what kind of relationship do we think we can have with you? Well, we are hoping that this is a very small circle of influence where the citizen is playing a role in the middle, a major role in the middle, by reporting corruption to us and by taking a stand against it. We are hoping that you, as members of the media, you will help us move into this kind of circle, that you will work with us to expose corruption, that you will shame the corrupt, that you will also work with us to create an environment that makes it uncomfortable for someone to boast about having bribed a cop on the road, or someone boasting about receiving millions of money out of a tender that they did not qualify for. And we are hoping that it is you that will help us in doing that kind of work. For more information about what we do as an organization, I am leaving my numbers here. One of the things that we'll be doing is that we'll be sending out a newsletter every week, and that newsletter will tell you more about our investigations, will tell you more about some of the stories that we compile, and we will be sending it out every week, but you'll be updated about what we do, how we do it, and if there are any story ideas that we wish to share with you, they will also be in that newsletter. You can also follow us on Twitter, of course, where we also give regular updates. We think that there are a number of stories that you as business journalists could be covering, stories that we wish we could cover, but we don't have the time to cover them, or it's not so much the time, but it's the resources that we are so few in the office, and we think so much more can be done. And one of those is just to look at company compliance programs around corruption issues. What are companies doing? How can they make sure that they become less corrupt, or the facilitation of corruption occurs less and less? And we are hoping that those kind of stories will be what you will come and discuss with us, or we can be able to pass them on to you so that you can do a better job than us whenever possible.